Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of the MisterFrisco Real Estate Podcast, where we break down all things real estate in Frisco, Texas. Today on my podcast, we will be diving into the Frisco housing market for October 2024. So if you are buying, selling, or simply interested in Frisco's real estate scene, you are in the right place. So my guest today is Jason Bourgeois, owner and founder of the Bourgeois Strategy, business consultant, executive coach, U.S. Marine, and former police enforcement officer. And today I will introduce you to the Black Rifle Coffee Company in Frisco, a veteran-owned place.
Meet MisterFrisco, a realtor selling residential real estate in Frisco and far North Dallas. As a former professional athlete, track and field, and strength and conditioning coach, Mr. Frisco immigrated to the USA 20 years ago with $50 in his pocket, a suitcase, and zero English to pursue the American dream and build a successful real estate business. Hardworking, persistent, customer service, and detail-oriented, Mr. Frisco strives to secure a smooth closing on his client's biggest investment, their home. He puts his experience and knowledge to serve his clients the best way possible. Building his business by referral allows him to maintain relationships with his clients and serve them even after the transaction is closed. This is Frisco Realty News with Mr. Frisco.
Whether you're buying, selling, or just curious, we have got the insights you need. So let's dive right into October's housing market trends in Frisco, Texas. First, let's talk about home prices. The median price for existing homes in Frisco dropped to $615,000 in October, and that's a 7.2% decrease compared to October 2023 and 4.7% dip from September of this year. So, while prices are softening, Frisco remains one of the most desirable markets in the region. Now, inventory is where things get interesting. In October, there were 530 homes for sale in Frisco, which is massive 57.7% jump compared to the same time last year. However, compared to September, inventory dropped slightly by 3.3%. So despite the year-over-year increase, inventory is still low when compared to pre-pandemic levels. So existing home sales are on the rise. Frisco saw 175 homes sold in October, 21.5% increase from the same time in the last year, and month-over-month home sales shot up by 35.7% from September. So clearly, buyers are still active in this market. So let's look at how quickly homes are selling. In October, the median days on the market was 31, up 34.8% from last October, when it was just 23 days. However, compared to September, homes are selling 5 days faster, signaling stronger demand as we headed into the end of the year. So, Frisco is still holding firm as a seller's market. The month of supply in October was 3.3 months, which remains below the balanced market threshold. And now, sellers, you still have the upper hand when it comes to negotiating deals. Finally, let's discuss pending sales. In October, 144 homes were under contract, a 24.1% increase compared to last year. And however, it's down 7.7% from September. So this slight decline may hint a slower pace for November sales data. So to sum it up, Frisco's housing market is dynamic with softening prices but strong buyers' demand. If you are looking to buy or sell in this competitive market, having the right step is key. For more tips, market updates, and expert advice, subscribe to the Mr. Frisco Real Estate channel. So now it's time for my guest now, Jason Bourgeois, owner and founder of the Bourgeois Strategy, business coach, U.S. a Marine, and former police enforcement officer. Hey, Jason, good to have you on my show.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
How are you doing today?
It's been a great day today. Started early, but it's been a full one. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, and I hate early mornings, but anyway. Okay. Good to have you on my podcast. And you are a business coach. Actually, you are first veteran.
Yeah.
So thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
And you were in the law enforcement as well?
I was military police. So I was law enforcement in the military.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So law enforcement and military. So you were military police. Okay. Yeah. All right. And you told me that you have a security business as well?
Yes, sir. Sure do. Yeah. I've got a security guard company. I've had that for about 11 years now, and I still own it.
Okay. Tell me, how did you decide to get into the security business?
Yeah.
I think that's a natural path for military guys, and police enforcement and military enforcement. But how did you decide to do that, and how actually you come up with the idea to switch to the business coaching?
Oh yeah, happy to share that. So yeah, the transition seemed just natural for me as I progressed with my military career. I was actually in the Marine Corps first for 6 years, and then switched to the Air Force for 6 years. So I did 2 different branches, 6 years each. But then while I was in the Air Force, they had deployed me to Afghanistan for a deployment, and I met a guy out there who was working as a security contractor as a civilian, but he was a reservist. So he had, in his reserve time, was working out there, and then he got activated from Afghanistan. So he had to return home, put on a uniform, and then go back to Afghanistan in the military capacity. And so I was kind of interested in that, what he was talking about. It's not something I'd heard anybody doing before. So anyway, I was able to get in with the company he was working with as a security contractor. And I worked for our U.S. Embassy in Kabul for a couple of years. And I was providing security for our country's diplomats. So ambassadors, congressmen, senators. I worked for Vice President Biden's protection detail on a tour he did out there. It was a really interesting job. Probably the coolest thing I did during my time in the military. I dropped into reserve status to take that job. So that was from 2010 to 2012. And after being gone, the incident that happened in Benghazi in 2012 was kind of a moment that really made me not want to be out there anymore, and seeing just the tragedy of what happened in Benghazi. So I started trying to find a way to come home, and just looking at different options, and I found a security franchise. I'd never heard of a security company being franchised before. So I was able to start the first franchise in Louisiana with that brand. And so that was in 2012 when I came home, 2013 when I launched, and started just me. I would sell during the day and patrol at night, doing security for a lot of apartment complexes, and it was a big transition. But over time, I wound up partnering with someone else for some more territories, and between the two of us, he and I wound up getting up to 8 franchises in 3 states with 130 employees. And last year, after moving to Frisco, as part of that expansion, he made me an offer to buy me out of the partnership. So I took the opportunity and said, okay, and I've retained ownership in my original franchise and just run it remotely now. It's got it down to about 3 to 5 hours a week of my time is about all it takes for that thing to run. I've got 30 employees, and it's a pretty stable business. It's done me well, and just trying to figure out what to do. I loved it here. I said, I don't want to leave. I want to stay here. I love this opportunity. I love this market. And what I really enjoyed, security was kind of the means for me to learn what I learned in business, but truly it was the opportunity to scale the operation that I just geek out on that stuff. I love learning how things work. I loved being able to orchestrate all the things that we needed to make that business function as it grew, all the layers of management we had to put in place, all the things that we had to institute to make things duplicatable and repeatable. And that's the stuff that I just am passionate about. And so I made that pivot this year and said, you know what, I'm going to offer that to Dallas businesses. It's a market with so much opportunity, so much growth, so much explosive growth. And I thought there's an opportunity here that I can help a lot of business owners really be more successful and give themselves a fighting chance in making it in a really competitive market.
Oh, yeah. I would say absolutely. DFW is growing very rapidly, especially the last 6-7 years, 10 years, and especially Frisco. It's just a great opportunity. Okay, that's a great career in military, by the way, and security. Romantic, but kind of not easy, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds romantic.
Yeah.
All right. So you started the business coaching, and what's your idea? What's your strategy? That would you advise owners? Because you successfully run a business, all right? So that make you pretty much qualified to give advice.
Yeah.
What would you advise? And what's your strategies to and advices to business owners, CEOs to grow their business?
Sure. Yeah. So really, the first hurdle is time. I look back at my own journey, and I remember, those opportunities for growth. At first, it was all about got to make a buck, got to go make a sale, got to get that business, and got to get this thing growing. But the problem is, as a business grows, eventually you run out of things that you can personally do. And at a certain point, every business reaches a point where the business owner is not able to do everything anymore. A lot of business owners really get stuck in that moment, and they find themselves really just working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and there's just not enough time in a day, not enough days in a week for them to get everything done. And it's really important that they learn in that moment where they need to delegate so that they can elevate what it is they do. They can handle bigger tasks, tackle bigger problems, and really expand their business by way of not doing everything themselves anymore. And that involves a little bit of fear, because they need to let go of certain things that they've been doing a certain way, and no one's going to do it quite as good as you, unless you teach them. And so the first thing I try to help them do is really take an audit of their time and identify where is it that you're spending your time that's not the best and highest use of your time, that's not going to provide the most value to your business. And then who's the best person to give that to? Is there someone in your organization already? Is there someone you need to bring into your organization? Do you need to hire someone? Do you need to outsource this thing? Is the process itself really the most beneficial way of doing this process? Or is there an actual better way to do it that would make outsourcing it better? What we all tend to do is the way we've always known it, but if we can repackage it in a certain way, it actually becomes easier to delegate those things or to outsource those things. And so I try to help them identify what those avenues are, what those challenges are. And it's different in every business. For me personally, I had a lot of situations in my business where I needed something done and nothing was ever done as good as I would do it. And my resolve was either I can accept mediocre performance, or I can repackage how I measure the expectations and how I delegate things. And so how you delegate is as important as what you delegate. And so learning how to actually train people the right way so that they can do things the way you need them to do it is ultimately where we try to get it done. And so we start with the time. We make sure that they're managing their time right, that they're spending it on the right things. And some of that involves saying no to the wrong things. And most entrepreneurs, people that start businesses, have a tendency they call it shiny object syndrome. We chase that next shiny object, the next opportunity. Somebody walks in and says, hey, you got to check out this thing. It'll make you, 10 times as much money. And it takes a certain amount of discipline to say no to those things, to say, that really doesn't make sense. And so having that clarity around what it is you're building, how you're building it, so that you can actually very fortuitously say, no, I don't think that's what I need right now, or thanks for the offer. Maybe I can shelve that for later, but what I'm doing right now is the most important thing. So clarity, focus, discipline, time management, those are the foundations. Once you have those foundations in place, we can start to build a lot more on it.
Yeah, time management always been a challenge.
Yeah.
So you mentioned most of the things here, but are all the qualities that you mentioned differentiate a good executive, from the average executive?
Yeah.
Or you could add more of that?
Yeah.
More to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first is the actual discipline, and there's the mechanics of it. The next phase of that is really the thinking. How is it that you're approaching challenges? Are you looking at it from the standpoint of what can I do about the solution? Who am I sourcing to help me, come up with a better solution for these problems, whatever those problems are. One of the things that I'm offering group coaching. That's one of the things that was my first foray into receiving coaching myself years ago, starting my own business. I came across this group of business owners that would meet once a month for 4 hours. And the format of this was just so beneficial to me as a business owner. Essentially, what we would do is we'd meet for 4 hours. Everybody was there, non-competing businesses, and everyone's expected to bring an issue to the meeting. So we'd open the meeting with, hey, we're all going to look at our books. We're going to show each other our numbers. And that's a very vulnerable thing that not a lot of business owners are used to doing with very many people. So there's a certain vulnerability that comes with that just opens up the rest of that meeting into, hey, we're going to be real here. We're going to address our real issues. Every business owner's got warts inside their business that they're not really telling anybody else about. I'm no exception. Every business has something that you're dealing with or working on. And so it's important to have an environment where you can kind of talk about those things. And really, if you want to eradicate it, you got to talk about it first. And so what we would do is we'd check in, we'd go over our numbers, our KPIs, and kind of let everybody know where we're at in our business, what our wins are. We'd have a lesson that we'd learn about, but then we'd get into our issue solving. And that was the majority of the time in the meeting. And the construct is everyone brings an issue. You rate your issue high, medium, or low priority, so we can work on the high priority issues first. We want to give everyone a chance to be able to share. And so as we disclose what our issues are, we give the background on it. Hey, I think I need to fire this employee. He's a key employee. He's been with me for a long time. Or, hey, I think I need to hire a salesperson. I've never hired a salesperson before. I don't even know what to look for, how to find them, whatever that issue is. Well, then the rest of the group, everyone asks whatever questions they need to know so they can provide more value. So then, hey, what would this salesperson be doing? Or why do you think you need to let this person go? What have you tried? Whatever questions they need to have more context. And once we've asked all the questions, there's no advice that's been given. Then each person one at a time will simply go around the room and say, okay, if you were in Jason's shoes, what's the decision you would make based on what you know? And we go around the room. Everyone's going to have their own angle to it because they have their own risk tolerance, their own priorities, own things that they value. And then they get back to the original business owner at the end and say, okay, you've heard from everybody here in the room. Now it's your turn to commit. What's the decision you're going to make, the action you're going to take that we're going to hold you accountable to next month? And that kind of accountability was really pivotal for me because when you're in a business, you don't always have people you're accountable to. But having a group of people that I owe this explanation to next month, I said I needed to fire this guy and I said I'm going to, so now I'm going to. What it did is it helped me, number one, ask better questions around problems to really explore and investigate these issues. It helped me come up with better solutions, hearing different inputs. And it helped me really get better at just making a decision instead of sitting in indecision, which is where a lot of people get stuck, is in this indecision, not sure what's the best thing to do, what's the right thing to do, and then taking action on those decisions. And that's where also a lot of people get stuck. Some people make a decision, but they don't take that action. Maybe there's some fear involved. And so all of those things kind of shift your mindset over time. The more you're kind of in those environments and doing those repetitions, the better you get as a business owner. And that's certainly the case for me. And I was able to utilize that process as I scaled up my business. And eventually I wound up building that entire internal process with my leadership team in the business. So I didn't need the outside source anymore. I learned how to cultivate that within my business. So I had that in my leadership team. So now once a week, we meet and we resolve our own issues and we go through that same process. And I'm empowering the members of my leadership team to make those decisions and to work through those issues. And I'm essentially training them in the process to, be able to take on that responsibility. And I can understand their thought process. So it started with the group coaching that transformed me. And eventually I brought that same group coaching into my leadership team itself. And that's the kind of stuff that I really was passionate about, was being able to see how a business can transform with those tools put in place. And that's really what I like to empower business owners with.
All right. Okay. So last question. You are focused more on small businesses, or you just can work with individuals as well?
Yeah. So I have mostly small businesses, people with some employees, because there's when you have a few more levers to turn when you have some employees. When I talked about, people that you can delegate to, some success in the business is going to be necessary in order to tweak certain things. In the beginning stage of a business, there's so much kind of turmoil. There's so many unsecure things that you're needing to resolve. But once a business has a little bit of stability, then we can actually start to turn a few levers and get things working a lot better. So ideally, I'm working with businesses doing between $250,000 a year in revenue up to $10 million, and I have different groups for them. So that way you're kind of with a group of your peers, people that you're working with that are in your same size, maybe some similar number of employees, similar amount of revenue, but everyone's non-competing. So there's no competition in that room. Everyone's able to be vulnerable and open with one another. And I try to limit the groups to 10 people each. That way everyone has a chance to share. It's smaller, it's intimate, and everyone's there, and they're committed to that time to get the results that they're each looking for in their business.
All right. Well, if somebody needs to reach out to you, how they can find you.
Yeah, so my website is bourgeoisstrategy.com, and bourgeois spelled BOURGEOIS-strategy.com. That's my website. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything else. But love to reach out. I love meeting new people. I've been in Dallas a year and a half now in this Frisco area, and it's my favorite place I've ever lived. I love it here. It's exciting.
Mine too. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something common we have.
Yes.
All right. Everyone, if you need a coaching, here it is. Jason Bourgeois.
Yeah.
Just give him a call.
Thank you, Victor. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for attending my podcast, and I will see you around.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. So, and now let's see what's going on in Frisco's business and social life. Fellow coffee lovers, this one's for us. There's something special brewing in Frisco. Get ready for a bold experience at Black Rifle Coffee Company. As an espresso enthusiast, I have to say this veteran-founded coffee shop located at 16599 FM 423 in Frisco is a must visit. They bring expertly crafted coffee with a mission, and I can't wait to savor their bold flavors. Whether you need a rich espresso or frothy latte or one of their signature blends, Black Rifle Coffee has something to fuel your day. Each cup supports a great cause, honoring veterans, first responders, and the community. Stop by for your morning boost or pick up some of their premium roasts to enjoy at home. Don't forget to check out their awesome merch and gear. Fuel for freedom with the Black Rifle Coffee Company, proudly serving Frisco, Texas. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to the MisterFrisco YouTube channel for more updates on local businesses, real estate tips, and everything you need to know about living in Frisco. Thanks for tuning into my podcast, and until the next time.